Hello, 4th District. Welcome to this historic moment here on the banks of the Willamette River, here on Kalapuya lands, where I stand before you with gratitude and resolve. This river begins as trickling streams high in the Coast Range and the Cascade Mountains. And it emerges strong enough to move mountains and to carve this valley into fertile ground where we can grow almost anything. And this here today, beside this river, this is where we will take our stand. I'm going to tell you more about what this campaign stands for, but first I want you to look around at each other. Take in this moment, make a connection, because this is a new beginning. It's a new beginning for Oregon, for us, and for future generations. We're here today because here in Oregon, we are not content to follow. In Oregon, we lead. This is a place for free thinkers, for innovators, for dreamers. We don't follow the conventional wisdom. We forge our path. We go against the grain. When our neighbors need help, we show up. Oregonians look out for each other. We have vision, we have grit, and we love the natural wonder of this beautiful landscape and this precious land. That's who we are. That's what we're made of, and that's what we expect from our political leaders. Yeah. And so we're here today because 2020 will be a turning point. And we're wondering, which way will we turn? Will it be a double down on the same, leading us in a downward spiral into ongoing disasters? Or will we turn towards something fundamentally new and just, toward the solutions that we know that we need and that are just within our grasp? We get to decide here today, together. We won't stay on the sidelines and watch to see what happens. We are going to be what happens. Today, we kick off a historic campaign that is pushing forward the solutions at the scale of the crisis that we face, and we are 100% people-powered. We are accepting $0 in corporate PAC money, $0 from fossil fuel industries. And together, we will elect the first Congresswoman to ever represent Oregon's 4th Congressional District. My name is Doyle Canning, and I am running for Congress because it's time to take a stand. I am a mother. I am a community organizer, and I have been a leader in progressive movements for almost 20 years. I am running to represent you because weak leadership and a failure to stand up to the corruption of the Trump administration and a failure to stand up to the influence of big corporate money in politics has led to a crisis for our country, for our climate, and for our communities. I'm here to fight to combat climate change, to fight for an affordable future, to take on corporate power, and to close the camps at the border immediately because immigrant rights are human rights. Today we stand together for our kids, for our climate, for future generations. We saw millions upon millions of people, young people, children, marching in the street yesterday because for over 30 years, the fossil fuel industry has been lying and lobbying their way into billions of dollars of government handouts and has been allowed to get away with essentially unlimited climate pollution. And now we are facing a climate system breakdown and a mass extinction event that is rapidly spiraling out of control. And we're running out of time. I have spent almost 20 years as a grassroots organizer in the climate movement. I have spent the last 3 years studying climate science and climate law, and I would spend my days reading those reports, and I watched as the timeline ticked closer and closer from 2050 to 2040 to 2030. And I would come home and I would tuck my children into bed and I would think about their lifetime, their future, their options. And I came to understand the difficult truth of our current situation, which is that we simply do not have the laws we need to get out of this climate crisis. We have to make those laws. We have to be the ones to make them. We are in a race against time, and we must do everything possible to transition our economy off of fossil fuels in a way that is both rapid and just for the workers and the communities that rely on fossil fuels today. And I believe that we can do that. I know that we can, but only if we have the courage and the grit to take the fossil fuel industry head on. And that is something that I have been doing for well over a decade in the climate justice movement. So today we take our stand and we say that we will fight for a Green New Deal. And that begins with saying no to Jordan Cove. That begins with ending fossil fuel subsidies, saying no to new fossil fuel infrastructure, and making the polluters pay for the damages they have done to our climate, the climate that they have destabilized. We are here to take a stand because for over 30 years in this country, wages have not meaningfully increased while housing, healthcare, childcare, and college all cost more every year. The economic odds are stacked against our generation, leaving families juggling multiple jobs, crushed by debt, barely affording the basics, while billionaires and big corporations are richer than ever before. Today we say enough, and we take our stand to fight for an affordable future. That affordable future begins with healthcare. I will never forget the day that I had a medical emergency, and my friend called 911, and I begged the EMTs not to take me to the hospital because I was uninsured and I was afraid of the cost. I wish that that story was uncommon, but every day, Oregonians are rationing life-saving medicines, drowning in medical debt, and putting off even basic necessary health care because of our complicated system of for-profit insurance. A public option in a private insurance for-profit system is not enough. That is why Oregonians overwhelmingly support Medicare for all. And that is what I will fight for as your representative in Washington, because health care is a human right. Fighting for an affordable future means fighting for more housing. Here in Eugene, we have the second tightest housing market in America. Shamefully, Oregon leads the nation in the rates of homeless children. I have worked alongside the grassroots movement called Homes for All to push back against Wall Street banks evicting homeowners in the wake of the foreclosure crisis, to defend the rights of tenants, and to fight for major federal investments in affordable housing, and to end housing discrimination. We're taking a stand today because the student debt crisis is crushing an entire generation. Loans for college and law school, even with all the scholarships I was able to receive, put me over $100,000 in debt. And tuition in Oregon keeps going up year after year. So that's why we're taking a stand today for debt-free education, tuition-free public college and trade school, full debt cancellation, period. And we're here to take a stand against corporate money in politics and corporate power in our political system. I am standing before you today as a community organizer who has worked with social movements across the country to fight back against powerful corporations. While still in college, I began working with family farmers and rural communities to stand up against the greed of Monsanto and the corporate agriculture system. And together, we passed the first law in the nation to label GMOs. When I was 19, I went to Seattle as part of the historic protests against the World Trade Organization, and I learned firsthand the power of a global coalition of working people, of labor unions, of environmental movements, of human rights defenders and young people fighting back against corporate power together. Building and expanding that coalition has been my North Star for 20 years. I've supported farm workers, fighting the fast food giants for better wages, veterans of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan fighting to end those occupations, indigenous peoples fighting polluting fossil fuel projects, homeowners fighting foreclosures by the Wall Street banks in the wake of the foreclosure crisis, Monsanto, Dow Chemical, International Paper, Corrections Corporation of America, Burger King, Halliburton, Exxon, Bank of America. I have fought them all, and I will fight for you in the United States Congress because that's who I am. We take our stand together because white nationalists are marching in our streets, because there is a public health epidemic of gun violence, because our government is building concentration camps for babies and families, because ICE is disappearing our neighbors in the dead of night, leaving sons and daughters without moms and dads. Apologize. Because of the bigoted attacks on LGBTQ people, transgender children, the epidemic of murders of trans women of color, the all-out assault on reproductive rights, we stand together opposed unequivocally to the racist, sexist, homophobic, and corrupt occupant of this White House and his agenda. We take a stand because now is not the time to talk about making a deal with the GOP. Now is the time to take a stand and fight. This is the moment that we stand together, emboldened by our vision. An Oregon with a new engine of renewable industries that create jobs that last for generations to come, where our towering forests sustain quality jobs in our rural communities and cool our global climate, where our tides power our towns, our sunshine powers our cities, and the wind on our coastline creates the renewable energy economy of the future. We are here to fight for the Green New Deal, and Oregon can lead. We are here to fight for an affordable future for Oregon, where everyone can go directly to their doctor to get health care without the middleman of for-profit insurance industry deciding who lives and who dies. Where prescription drugs don't bankrupt families, where dental care and eyeglasses are not something that we put off because they are too expensive, but guaranteed to everyone. My friends, we take our stand today for Medicare for all. We will fight for an affordable future where one job is enough, where everyone can afford a safe and stable place to call home. We're here for stronger unions, higher wages, and shorter hours. We're here to build a new housing plan for Oregon and for America. We are here to make sure that no child is left hungry, no child is living in a car at the Walmart parking lot or sleeping in a tent by the side of our street. That services for survivors of domestic violence and gender-based violence are a priority in the United States Congress and not an afterthought. Where equal justice under the law applies to us all, and where we begin to roll back the racism that has fueled the growth of mass incarceration, and where big corporations pay their fair share to sustain our communities and repair our planet. Right now, there are people saying that what we're trying to do here is impossible. That ensuring everyone can work just one job, get an education, have a safe place to call home, see a doctor when we're sick, start a family if we choose, and to count on a future for that family on a planet that is not threatened by catastrophic climate change. We're told that these are impossible goals, that this is the green dream or whatever. There's a proverb, yes, it reminds us, a vision without a plan is just a wish. And a plan without a vision is just drudgery. But a vision with a plan changes the world. This afternoon, we come together for this historic moment with a vision and a plan to win this primary, to win this election, and to win the changes that we need in the United States Congress. Never before has a Democratic woman run for the 4th District of Oregon. And together, we will be achieving something even more important and historic, sending our first Congresswoman to Washington in 2021. I am overjoyed to be with you here today on the banks of the Willamette River to officially announce my candidacy to represent you in the United States Congress. My name is Doyle Canning. Vote for me May 19th, 2020 in the Democratic primary. Thank you. And now more music.